and welcome to the April 26, 2022 Hempstead Town Board meeting. Hempstead Town Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Clayton.
Here.
Councilman Creedy.
Here.
Councilman Esposito.
I'm here.
Councilman Dunn.
Here.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Here. Councilwoman Miller. Here. Councilman Muscarella.
Here. Since Councilman Esposito is here, can I please ask for release of the Pledge of Allegiance?
With your hand over your heart, I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Supervisor, as the first order of business, I recommend that the board formally vote to adjourn public hearings 9, 10, 11, and 12 until further notice. The clerk correctly noted and rightly noted on the calendar, which was published last week, that these will be adjourned per the town board, but we need to formalize that. If there's a motion, please.
Can I have a motion, please?
Supervisor, I move to adjourn until further notice public hearings 9, 10, 11, and 12, and I look forward to working with all of you to move Baldwin forward.
I second the motion.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, would you please call the first public hearing?
Yes, we have a petition of the Commissioner of Buildings to demolish and remove a two-story wood frame one-family dwelling with attached two-car garage, and to remove all litter and debris from the property in Baldwin.
Okay, does any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, I have a couple of slips on this. We have Barbara Wazowski, item number 1. If you go to the back podium and give your name and address to the record. Thank you.
Barbara Wazowski, 32 Warren Street, across the street from this building.
Good morning. Yes?
Okay, so our questions are, will this building be demolished? Is the DEC involved? It's a waterfront on two sides with a nature preserve, with wetlands, preserved wetlands on the other side, which is nesting season right now for the ducks and the waterfowl, which is actively going on. Asbestos, these are all my concerns. I thought you would address these here.
Okay, my building commissioner here. Fred? If you identify yourself, please.
Frederick Jones, Department of Buildings. Good morning, everybody. Town Board, Supervisor. This is a building or house that has been on temporary cribbing for a long time due to a sandy lift. It has to come down immediately. It's been several years. It's a structural, severe problem. Now, in response to your questions...
We just have concerns here.
Yes, in response to your questions, what the town board resolution does is to authorize the demolition. There are still phases after that. One is an inspection, an asbestos inspection. Okay, that takes place. That will also affect the price of the total demolition package. As far as DEC is concerned, all state agencies, county agencies, are notified of everything that happens. But asbestos would be first. Because if there is asbestos in this older house that's elevated and on cribbing, it's got to be remediated.
What's the timeline for this whole process before the demolition starts?
Well, if the resolution is passed today, we try and complete the inspection, asbestos inspection, within 30 days and get a report within 30 days. This resolution does not mean that the house is coming down next week.
No.
It just starts in gear all of the processes for the ultimate demolition of the
At
structure.
what point is the DEC involved?
They will probably be notified, and we will check before we issue a demolition permit. That will be part of the demolition permit.
And when the demolition happens, what is done to protect our property across the street, the cars, the dust, the drains of the street right there at the house drain right into the canal. So you can't have the demolition debris.
This is what demolition companies do. That's their expertise.
But how do they handle that?
Well, there's a section in the code, chapter 33, called safeguards during construction. which also applies to demolition. And these are all taken into account. They're approved demolition contractors, and they have to submit a complete scope of work, and that is reviewed before the final demolition permit is
Will
issued.
we, as the people who are most closely affected, will we be able to review their plan? How they plan on keeping the debris from going to the canal? Will we be able to see that?
You should be on OpenGov. We can invite a guest in to see what's transpired. One of the beauties of open government, that's our digital software package, is when there are comments and permitting involved, we can invite as a guest, you for example, onto the portal and to see all the comments from the planning examiner, from people associated with the project.
So let's do that. How can I do that?
Why don't we do this?
I think we're getting a little bit too technical about open
I was
gov.
going to say, why don't you give Fred, the commissioner will meet you in the back to take your relevant information, contact information, and he'll reach out to you and keep you in the loop on it.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
No problem at all.
Can we do that now? Can I meet with
Good. You go right to the back right now. Perfect. All right, I do not have any other slips on item number 1. Anybody did not sign that wishes to be heard on item number 1?
Yeah.
Okay, if you please give me your name and address for the record.
Me, Jay Maraday. First of all, it's more than appropriate that the other items were adjourned, and I just want to make sure that the residents that took the time to come here.
Ms. Meredith, we're on item number 1.
I understand that. I do have a right to speak, and this is my 3 minutes. I will get to it.
But it's really on item number 1. Thanks.
It's a Baldwin-related issue, Supervisor, so again, I just want it heard, again, that people took the time to come here. I want to make sure they understand that they do have a right to speak on an adjourned item because precedent has been established.
I'm sorry, that you don't have, Ms. Meredith, you don't have the right to speak in an adjourned item. There is no public hearing right now being held on those other items.
Precedent has been established, sir. You may not have been here, but there have been previous hearings where residents had issues regarding adjourned. If I could finish.
Ms. Meredith, I know you come all the time, and I know you're going to stick around for the public comment. Do you have any questions or comments on item number 1?
I do. Again, with all due respect, you are able to go on and on and on. We have to sit here. This is my 3 minutes. It is now down to 2. I will get to the point. I was just getting ready to do that. I was answering the question that was posed to me. Again, with regard to the item on the agenda, the question I wanted to ask when it comes down to these designated contractors, what is the diverse composition of these contractors? What is the inclusion of minority, women, veteran, and disabled businesses with these contracts? Because it seems that the same people are doing the work. So if somebody can answer that related question.
We follow the rules and
Here
regulations.
on the record, I would appreciate
We
it.
follow the rules and regulations with this, Ms. Meredith.
That's not answering the question.
That technically it is.
No, it's not answering the question. Because if you have designated contractors, you should know who they are because we see the same people over and over again. So can someone address the question?
We did, Ms. Meredith. We follow all the proper rules and procedures and laws within compliance. Thank you.
They're not in compliance if, once again, you've been noted a Newsday because you've been out of compliance for related issues in Baldwin. So I think it's a valid question for me to ask and get an answer. Yes, you're directed by the taxpayer to answer the question. Now, you don't have to wait for Supervisor Clayton. He's an elected official. I'm a taxpayer with residents who took the time to come here to have this issue addressed. So aside from the disrespect that's ongoing for those of us who come here, I would appreciate a direct answer and not the same.
The contractors that we use, there's a request for proposal. It goes out to bid, and this was a qualified vendor, met the requirements to get the contract awarded to them.
Okay. Now, is there the possibility that this vendor may be service disabled, women-owned or minority-owned? Because the percentages in this township are abysmal for 2022 for the amount of money that we get from the state and federal government that we're consistently not in compliance with federal and state regulations.
If you have a contractor that would like to bid on these, you're more than welcome to put in the information. If you qualify, you would be an eligible bidder.
You don't qualify because, many of them don't pay as many contributions and they don't have the family.
Ms. Meredith, that's not the truth. The truth of the matter is that there's a request for proposal that is put out. We meet all the requirements of minority and women-owned businesses, and in fact, on an annual basis, the town board and Senior Councilwoman Gooseby host an event here at Town Hall to encourage minority and women-owned and veteran-owned businesses.
Encouraging and including are two different things.
That is including them. When we invite them to town hall and bring them in on the process, that is the work that we're doing. Right, and now we're on my time.
Okay, and I don't have any other slips on item number 1. Is anybody else in the public that wishes to hear on item number 1? If not, may I please have a motion?
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the petition be granted.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Boothby. Councilwoman Miller. Councilman Muscarelli.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have the petition of the Commissioner of Buildings to demolish and remove a one-story wood frame, one-family dwelling, and to remove all litter and debris from the property in near East Rockaway.
Okay, a member of the board wish to be heard on this item? Okay, I do not have any slips. Any member of the public that did not sign in wishes to be heard on item number 2? If not, may I please have a motion?
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the petition be granted.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Boothby. Councilwoman Miller. Councilman Muscarelli.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a petition of the Commissioner of Buildings to demolish and remove an in-ground swimming pool and to remove all litter and debris from the property located in Lido Beach.
Okay, a member of the board wish to be heard on this? I do have a slip on this. I have a Joel Birchow. Mr. Birchow, if you go to the back mic, give your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Morning, I'm Andrew Kasman. I'm with Abrams Fenceman representing the owner. We have a proposal to demolish both the swimming pool and the house. We are going to be applying for permits, and once that gets done, then we will be removing the 2 items for your request.
Okay, Fred? Identify yourself to us. Thank you.
Joe, it's Hempstead, Department of Buildings. My recommendation is simply to pass the resolution, as I stated last time, because this is a severe safety threat to the community. It's an abandoned house. We can give them plenty of time. After the resolution is passed, it almost guarantees that we now have the go-ahead to do the demolition, but we will happily work with the corporations or the owner to achieve what we are trying to achieve, which is compliance and community safety.
I need to hear the representation. He understands that the board would like to pass it just related to safety, but the commissioners indicated they want to work with you on the whole process. Okay, great. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. I don't have any other slips. Any member of the public that did not sign up for number 3 wishes to be heard? If not, may I have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item, but I want to also add, I want to make sure the building department does work closely with the homeowner to try to come to an agreement on this and make sure we rectify it. But we're passing this to make sure that it moves forward, okay? I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye, but I will add that the commissioner or deputy commissioner, perhaps you'll exchange information with council so they can do a strong follow-up on this. Okay, and I move forward, yes.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Boothby. Councilwoman Miller. Councilman Muscarelli.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding regulations and restrictions to limit parking in Baldwin, Merrick, and West Hempstead.
Any member of the board wish to be heard on this? Okay, I have a slip on this. I have Meredith. Morning again, Ms. Meredith.
Good morning. Well, morning. I don't know how good it is for Winchester, yeah, but we'll see. My question regarding
think it's a nice morning,
this item has to do with, okay, the actual streets relating to Baldwin, and 2, the issue of law enforcement, because we keep putting these regulation signs and things out there, but it doesn't seem like, again, that you're having the coordination that you need to actually enforce the laws when you have people who are parking on residential streets and they don't live in that lot, or they're parking in these parking lots that are supposed to be maintained by the town, and they're staying there, days on end. So where are these streets as it pertains to Baldwin, and what is the coordination with law enforcement to actually enforce them?
Good morning, Supervisor. Tom Reed, representing Traffic Patrol Division. This location in Baldwin is for a resident on Clay Street. We're implementing a no parking anytime for them because they're having trouble with the local business who keeps monopolizing the parking in their home. We have a work order on standby to have the signs installed that we install from our department. And then usually the police departments are notified of any new resolutions. So if the residents still have the parking problem, they can contact the police department to do the enforcement of the signs in the future. And we will maintain the signs if there's a report of the sign being damaged or if it needs to be fixed, and we can replace it.
Okay, so this one is on Clay Street, and you're coordinating this with the department, and, okay, and how successful is this because we've had a number of residents who said that they've had signs posted and they don't seem to get the cooperation between, well, they can't get a response from the town, and, you know, the police department is very hard to work, very diligent in doing their jobs, but, you know, we need to get more resources out of the town, since we're paying the money here, to protect the residents and to ensure that they have some assurances to where they can park in their homes.
You see, the enforcement actually we don't have the enforcement here. That obviously falls on the county, and I do think the county police department, Commissioner Ryder, and the whole team do a great job. And if any residents has a direct problem there, I'd ask them to just email either the council person, whoever he or she may be, or the supervisor's office, and we'll reach out to the police department. They're great, especially when residents bring it to the attention. So that's the first complaint I've heard. So and obviously they're very responsive, and we work great with them.
That the police department is responsive, but the council side of it, not so much, okay? You got 3 council members who touch on Baldwin, and there's like at least 2 I never seem to hear from, and I've yet to get a response from issues that I presented to Chris Carini's office. So,
Ms. Faraday, my office has responded multiple times. This is a police matter. We do not enforce the law. We do not have a law enforcement function. I reach out to the precinct numerous times for areas for enforcement. If homeowners call and someone's parked illegally in front of their house, if you call the precinct, a majority of the times they come and they write the summons, and they don't park there anymore. We do not have a law enforcement function. And when you contact my office, we send it over to the precinct and to the county legislator, whose jurisdiction is the enforcement of this. We write the parking regulations, we put up the signs, we do not do the enforcement. For you to sit here and say that I don't respond is completely untrue. You just don't like the answer. We do not have a police department. That answer does not change.
well, I didn't get that answer, but this is the most conversation that I've had from you since you've been sitting in that chair. So there you go. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else that did not sign in that wishes to be heard on this? If not, may I please have a motion?
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed, the item adopted.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Padrino.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Hughes. Aye. Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Musgrove.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please go next item.
We have a proposal of law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in Elmont, Merrick, North Baldwin, and West Hempstead.
Okay, member of the board wish to be heard on this? I have one slip here, Meredith.
Mita J. Meriday, not Merida Meriday, but for the record.
I apologize. A lot of people call me Calvin all the time, so I sympathize with it, so I apologize. It's Meredith.
Thank you. Again, I just need to know what the address is for North Baldwin. I think my other questions have been previously unanswered, but I just need the address for North Baldwin.
Well, we have several different locations here under this item. We have Elmont, Merritt, North Baldwin, and West Hempstead. For the Elmont, it's for a resident on A Street that we're implementing a no stopping anytime with the handicap parking. And then in Merritt, we're implementing a 2-hour parking for a dental office. For the North Baldwin, we're putting a no parking anytime in for a resident to clear out their driveway because they're having trouble seeing while they're getting out due to the parked cars. And the last item, West Hempstead, is a supplement to the recommendations in item number 4.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I don't have any of the slips. Anybody who's signed in which should be heard on this item? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and adopt the item.
Second motion.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Padrino.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarelli.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding arterial stops near Island Park, North Belmore, North Merrick, and Seaford.
Any member of the board wish to be heard on this? I do not have any slips. Anybody wish to be heard on this that did not sign in for item number 6? If not, may I please have a motion?
Supervisor, I move that the public hearing be closed and the proposed local law be adopted.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin. Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarelli.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a proposed local law regarding bus stops in Levittown and Merrick.
Any member of the board wish to be heard on this? I do not have any slips. Anybody wish to be heard on this that did not sign in for item number 7? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the motion. The hearing be closed and we adopt the item.
Well done. Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarelli.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have items number 13 through 67 on the administrative. Oh, I'm so sorry. Forgive me. We have a proposed handicap parking on public street in Elmont, Franklin Square, Merrick, Oceanside, and Union.
Any member of the board wish to be heard on this? I did not have any slips. Any member of the public that did not sign in wish to speak on item number 8? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarelli.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the administrative calendar.
On the administrative calendar, we have items 13 through 67.
First, does any member of the board wish to speak on any of the administrative items? Okay. I have a couple of slips on here.
Question mark, we have 68?
68.
My calendar has 67. So those will be the items under review, items 13 through 68.
13, 68, okay. First slip I have is for Felix Procacci. Morning, Mr. Procacci. Give me your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Felix Procacci, Franklin Square.
On
Okay.
item number 57, regarding the settlement of $40,000 to John Novello. First of all, I object to the settlement, and you all should agree with me because there's an outstanding motion to dismiss by the town's outside counsel that has been working on this case for over a year, I believe. And wouldn't you want to wait till the judge rules on the motion before you start settling? It's sort of like you spent all this money on the case, all the paperwork says he has no case, there's no case, there's no case. I read all the paperwork, and now you're settled. You didn't make any argument why you're giving him the money. There is no agreement. I called the town attorney's office yesterday. So if someone could answer the question as to why not wait for the judge to rule on the motion to dismiss before you even attempt to settle this, I'd appreciate it.
Mr. Town Attorney?
Yes, thank you, Supervisor. Mr. Procacci, ordinarily I wouldn't comment on litigation in any way, respect whatsoever. But you're asking a very good question, somewhat novel situation. Is an outstanding motion to dismiss that's pending before a judge who ordered the parties to go to mediation. And the result of the mediation was a settlement which that judge who was going to decide that motion either grant it or deny it, if it ever were to be heard, is now before that judge. So the mediation was recommended, resulted in a settlement proposal of $40,000, which outside counsel, with the urging of the magistrate who mediated it, as well as the judge who was presiding over the case, has recommended to this town board. And on that basis, the logical thing to do is to follow the recommendation of your outside counsel, particularly at the urging of the court, and to approve the settlement.
I mean, I have an outstanding case, and there's an outstanding motion to dismiss by your outside counsel going up against me, and mine involves no money, zero money. It requires you to agree to follow the law. So you already agreed to give me my court fees, which was very minimal, and now there's all you have to do is agree to follow the law.
Anything on the...
No, this is a similar thing, and I wonder why you don't agree and settle my case with a cost you nothing. You're willing to settle for $40,000. That's the difference. You have to go by a comparison. Why would you settle for $40,000 when you won't settle for zero?
Mr. Picacci, again, you're comparing something...
It's very relevant, because you're paying outside counsel, so it's not costing you no money to go ahead with this. It's costing you money. Every day, every hour that guy works, he's billing $250, $300 an hour. Yet you insist on going ahead when it could cost you nothing to end it all. I mean, just think about that. And that's why I question this $40,000. And I do have to make a comparison. Why are you just giving up? I would wait for the judge to rule on the motion to dismiss before I even consider it. And you even said, all your outside counsel throughout a whole year of litigation, it may have cost you, I would bet upwards of $100,000 on this case. You argued not to give him the money. So now you're giving him the money after you already spent a ton of money on outside counsel. You see the illogicality of your argument? It doesn't make any sense. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Picacci. Next I have James Jacobs. Good morning, Mr. Jacobs. You can name and address for the record. Thank you.
This kid, what I'm exactly referring to, sir?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell me what I'm referring to? I put in line for a lot of different things on that. Left notes to myself.
You signed in for multiple items, so it's your 3 minutes, sir.
Oh, for all of them? Yeah. Okay. What happened, we already addressed the thing about last month, early month, April 5th. Number 43, I was asked the town attorney that when we do untable it, we will get public notices about that. Because sometimes we have something adjourned on the table. Nobody knows about it after it's been voted on. I just want to make sure we're in the loop. And then on 23, 24, and 25...
Excuse me, I can't understand. Need you take your mask off so I can hear you.
I will speak louder then, okay? Item 23, 24, and 25, I select the one with starting date and completion date of said project, and would it cover the content of 1,4,000 in the process. On item number 26, which is care, and number 27, can the town attorney define why the legal department has to go into the general fund to take care of things, but to take care of the residents of Nassau County and then the town of Hempstead residents versus partially because of COVID-19? This was curious. That's why I have all the slips in.
Okay, Mr. Reinhardt?
Good morning, Supervisor Commissioner Reinhardt, Department of Water. Items 23, 4, and 5 are related to treatment improvements at the Oak Street, Wells 5 and 6 facility for the removal of 1,4-dioxane. These are, if you remember, 2 meetings ago, we had withdrawn the bids because there was a bunch of irregularities in the bid prices. This is awarding it, we rebid it. It should be noted that we recently, last week, received word that we got $7 million in grants for this project as well.
And I think the county controller can answer the second phase of this question, Ted. John, though you're no stranger, if you would identify yourself.
I'm Master Marino, Town Controller. Items number 27, 26 relates to the CARES funding that the town issued grants for. When the town issues a grant, we do not send the money. We require that the recipients send us documentation, and then we reimburse them. It's getting down to the end of the line on these items, and 5 or 6 of these grantees have not expended their money. So what we're doing is we're reducing their grant, so to speak, and taking the money back and applying CARES expenditures that we had that we did not take CARES money for. We are now offsetting those items. And that's what those 26 and 27 are.
Thank you, John.
So, Mr. Clayton, just for point of clarification, on the stuff that was adjourned first tabled, when they do untable it, we will have public notice to speak when they said items that were tabled today, right? I mean, when it comes back over. Just point of clarification.
Yes.
I'm not too sure I understand what were you talking about, the Baldwin items?
Well, you have, the one of my concern from earlier month was one that you have an area unnamed, and it's section 108.17, article, I think, 10A, and it has no name to it. I just want to make the clarification of what area they're speaking about.
I'm sorry, sir, what number again?
Okay, for April 5th meeting, the section number was 108.17, article 10A, and it's CAS residence district. And there's no name to it. And I just want clarification. But everything else has a name to it. You have Baldwin down here, you have North Lawrence down here, Inwood, but that's an unnamed area. And I just...
Oh, wait, are you talking about the item that was talking about the CAS zone?
Yes.
Okay, so a CAS zone is separate and distinct, having anything to do with the Baldwin or the North Woodmere Lawrence overlay zones. A CAS zone is part of our zoning, which is granted to parcels that meet certain criteria within what's called the CAS zone. It has to do with being on a close to public transportation, it has to be within 200 feet of a residential home, it has to be a blight on the community. So that's what the CAS has to do with. It's not specific, and if anybody were to apply for a change of zoning to CAS, if your question is would you be notified, yes, it would have to go out for the same, it would have to be in the newspapers and noticed just like anything else in this calendar.
Thank you, sir. The reason I asked the question because every time people know the Hempstead pay certified, it's called by another entity, and nobody ever find out how that entity got that name. And I figured something like this would be the same application because I live in Unionville. I'm a proud resident of Unionville. I belong to district, council district number 1. I pay my taxes like everybody else. But as soon as I go over the Coliseum map or go by Museum Road, it's called by another name. But when I first moved out there 30 years ago, that was Unionville. And for some reason, there's some kind of trickery involved that they like to name areas either by the developer or by the county, by the town. And I'm just going to make sure everything's above board. And thank you.
No, sir, any time that there would be a request or an application for CAS or any type of zoning change, it would be noticed and calendared.
Okay, Diane Madden? Morning, Ms. Madden, if you give your name and address to the record.
Good morning, Diane Madden, Hempstead. Item number 16. Could someone please tell me what door in the animal shelter for nearly $36,000 is going to be replaced?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good morning, board members, Senior Councilman Gooseby. Ms. Madden, this is for doors for the kennels. There's specialty doors, there's also the whole door frame and so forth. It's 7 doors, the price came out to $35,000. They're made special, they close slower, they don't bang, so it's made specifically for certain places, and an animal shelter where dogs are very sensitive to hearing, that's what it's made for.
Okay, so this was put out for bid, and you accepted just the first bid, the only bid?
Well, it comes from the purchasing fund. The purchasing agent actually puts the bid out, and he deemed it a viable bid, he deemed it a fair price, and we accepted it. And I made the recommendation to the town board to hopefully accept it. And
well, I'm actually going to make a recommendation for them to table this until more bids can come in and until it's not the same exact contractor that they passed probably less than 2 months ago for $67,000 worth of doors. And I really haven't seen those improvements unless they're behind the public areas. But again, putting aside the fact that I believe these are donors, this contractor, I'm asking the board to table this until more bids can come in, particularly the condition of the animal shelter, how it is being mismanaged, and where the money should be going.
Just so we know, when it goes to the bid and
If I may answer, I think it was very important in an animal shelter, especially where the animals are actually, those are the kennel doors. And we put this bid out twice, and this was the only person that responded. I guess it's a specialty item. You might have to ask the purchasing agent, but it's a specialty type item that only one person responded to.
And the same person that responded to the $67,000 bid, it seems like a little bit of a coincidence, and again, I'm asking the board to table it until it can be put out again, and other people can have the opportunity to bid on this.
Well, Commissioner, the doors that are being proposed, it's a total of 7 doors, right? And from what I read in this stuff, the estimate that was provided by the engineers, the bid that you got is actually less than what they estimated it would be.
Actually, it is. To be quite honest, it's not just doors, it's the door frame, it's the whole area where, it's not just changing the door, taking it off the hinges, it's the whole situation. And the thing that closes the door is a specialty item also. But the engineer, I believe it was Cashin and Associates, came in, gave us an engineer's estimate, and this came in below it, so I didn't see any reason why not to accept it.
And can you please tell me who's determining, I can't think of a door, other than the one they should be taking off the hinges where the public enters the kennel area. I have not seen a door that even looks remotely close to needing replacement.
I disagree. That's why we put in a capital plan in 2018. Got a little held up because of COVID, and that's why.
and this is because of the engineer's review, is that accurate?
Yeah, well, yes. Well, we actually asked for it because the doors were they were getting old, and in our 5-year capital plan, one of the things was doors, as in the cage, kennels, and door grounds, and things of that nature. We're trying to go slow, but every year put something in that helps the animals.
You know, Commissioner Marino, I wish you were as concerned about the care of the animals as you are allegedly putting in new doors, because it's pretty despicable how that place is run. That I can go in there and see feces in cages, urine in cages, blood in cages, animals not getting out, no public in the areas. And I think it's time to put the concentration on how that place is being managed rather than to spend taxpayers' money who are barely making their rent on new doors that don't need to be replaced. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mann. I do not have any slips on the administrative calendar. Anybody who did not sign in that wishes to be heard on the administrative calendar?
Yeah.
Great. If you can go to the back podium and give me your name and address for the record, that'd be great.
Dale.
Good morning, Ms. Jacobs.
Good morning. So item number 15, I'm sure this is attributed to a controlled infested event regarding the fireworks.
Which one? 15 you said?
Item 15.
Commissioner, identify yourself, thanks.
Good morning, Supervisor, members of the board. Frank Sangler, Commissioner of Parks. Ma'am, can I help you with your question?
Yes, is this related to a controlled infested event?
Yeah, it's every year we host our Salute to the Veterans at Point Lookout Beach. We have a concert followed by a fireworks show, a fireworks display. This year we had several companies interested in bidding on getting the job this year, so we put it out. We had one company come back that was out for proposal. One company came back. It turns out to be the company we've used in years past.
It's okay, sir. I'm not asking about the company. I'm just asking was it a control? Is it related to a controlled infested event, correct? That's all.
Oh, yeah, correct.
Yeah. So my next question is, what are the town of Hempstead rules governing fireworks in the town of Hempstead?
I'll answer. Well, I'm sorry, Ms. Jacobs, what's your question?
What are the town of Hempstead rules governing fireworks in the town of Hempstead?
Well, that's a police item, and when it comes to fireworks,
Don't you have rules governing fireworks in the town of Hempstead?
yeah, but the enforcement
I'm not talking about enforcement. What are the town of Hempstead rules?
Yeah, fireworks are illegal in New York
They
State.
are illegal, exactly.
Okay, but this is an event that's, and we follow all the rules and regulations of the Nassau County Fire Marshal's Office.
Can he answer the question? You know,
Ms. Jacobs.
Councilman,
Ms.
you
Jacobs.
need to focus on your town-funded campaign. I'm speaking to the gentleman over there. Okay? So they are illegal. They are illegal in the town of Hempstead, right?
There are circumstances where they are legal with proper permitting.
Okay, because in Council Manager District 1, they're not fireworks, they're actually mortars, from April until November. So I would suggest, because they are legal in the town of Hempstead, that the town would send out a mailer to all the residents advising them that the town of Hempstead does not condone illegal fireworks. And we do hear warlike mortars from April, it started already, until November, until from 9 o'clock at night till 4 o'clock in the morning. Enforcement is definitely up to the police, yes it is, but it's your responsibility to inform your constituents that it's illegal.
Ms. Jacobs, that's a great idea.
Ms. Jacobs, it's a great idea.
We should include our local fire departments to provide
Just
safety.
like the mail is doing campaign time, we would like a...
No, and it's a great idea because we can include the local precinct number and the fire department. It's a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Slips, is anybody who didn't sign in that wishes to be heard on this map?
Actually, I did sign in, so I don't know why I apparently missed with wanting to speak on the administrative calendar. Taking on that, I'm just concerned as to under the administrative calendar, there are no grant applications that tie into the repairs on the VFW halls with the funding that's coming out of Nassau County, but we do have the permits, notwithstanding celebrating and saluting our heroes, because I don't want anybody jumping at me, particularly those that are running for office, as if I have some opposition to supporting our veterans. But funny, I'm also interested in trying to keep our veterans in their homes, keep widows getting the funding that they can support themselves when their loved ones leave them. But why are there no grant applications for the town of Hempstead to provide permit support, if that's necessarily the case, for the many VFW halls that are in disrepair, and there's an opportunity for them to at least get a crust of bread out of the county in that $10,000 grant? I'm just putting that out there. Okay, under contracts, number 16, 19, 20, 21, 23, 24, 25, 36, 51, 41, 50, and 58. All the number of contracts close to 20. I'm just asking if someone can advise me if there's any chance, any hope, that one of those contracts is administered by a company that's, okay, here we go, folks, service disabled veteran, minority woman-owned business that is based in the town of Hempstead. There's an interesting contract for a ocean and coastal consulting that seems to me to be a sole source contract. That company is, the parent company is from Denmark. Their headquarters is in South Carolina, and the nearest location is Connecticut. I think since Long Island is surrounded by water, that we should be able to find somebody between the two counties and the two boroughs that might have some expertise in addressing coastal matters where we live, if we're talking about buy local, support local. Also, number 53, that H2M seems to be a well-connected company that continues to get contracts out of this township. And again, we do not have the diversity that is so apparent to the amount of people who pay the taxes here and forgotten. So if anybody can answer any of those questions while my time is still going on, I would appreciate that.
Hi, I'm Brian Kunzig, Commissioner of Engineering. For item 58, there GOES are funded. That funding was from Anchor Electric being withheld due to retainage. For item 48 with Cowie, formerly now known as BTMI, they have vast expertise in coastal areas. They were by far and away the most qualified consultant we could bring in. Nobody in the competition was anywhere close. And so they're also, the contribution is GOES are funded, and so 30% of all funding is for WMBE. So we have roughly 26 million in GOZER funding allocated to WMDEs in total, and part of the increase of that 90,000 goes to that 30% threshold.
Okay, the threshold is stated, but we rarely meet that threshold here. In the
We are meeting or exceeding on all contracts.
With who? Just give me a name.
GOZER.
Just give me one company. Forget the GOZER.
Pioneer.
Okay.
Pioneer, the one doing the construction on the project you mentioned.
Okay.
They're at 30%.
What is the contractor, the diverse contract? It's a simple.
I can get you all that information.
I want to know who the diverse contractor.
Ms. Meredith, she's trying to answer the question. Just let him answer the
Yes,
question.
I can assure you the 30% threshold was met. I can get you all the information. We can go over it at length. Their trucking company is a WMBE company. They're the ones shipping all the stone in from the quarry.
Okay. I want the listing. Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
27, when somebody spoke about 27, 28, we were told that the CARES Act funding had been pretty much depleted, and it still seems to me that you're switching money into other accounts.
Ms. Meredith, as an A-town, but I know the town controller did explain that. We just didn't give out checks to people. John, in the case, it's basically they have to submit receipts before payment's done, and some of the entities didn't submit their receipts. Is that correct?
Yes, we are auditing all the claims, and we're at a point now where there's a balance, and we require money to be returned, so, or not expended. And we're utilizing it for other CARES expenditures that we did and did not use CARES money for. So we're offsetting that.
Okay.
That's the question right there. Where did you use that? Where did that?
Thank you, Ms. Meredith. I do not have any other slips. Is there anybody that did not sign into the administrative account that would like to be heard?
Stay on it.
If not, may I please have a motion, Ms. Meredith, please. Thank you so much.
Stay on it.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
I accept to item number 57, where I abstain.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Padrón.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gusti.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Musgrove.
Aye.
May I have a motion?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Padrón.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gusti.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Musgrove.
Aye.
Okay, now the formal town board meeting has been adjourned. The town board will remain to listen to the comments of the residents. Number of residents signed in. First, we'll start with Kyle Strober. Morning, Mr. Strober. If you give your name and address for the record.
Good morning, Supervisor. My name is Kyle Strober, 1770 John Street, Merritt, New York. I'm here on behalf of the Association for a Better Long Island. We're an economic advocacy organization for the region. I'm also here carrying the flag for a colleague of mine, Mitch Pally, who is the CEO of Long Island Builders Institute. He couldn't be here. He's up in Boston on business. And I'm also here as a resident and millennial. And I want to first commend the supervisor as well as the town board for adjourning the public hearing and the moratorium for the TOD projects in North Lawrence, Inwood, and Baldwin. We believe that these projects are transformative and that they should go forward. And when we contacted the town board, I must say the supervisor was responsive. We explained that, this can't be delayed for a year, and the supervisor and the council, we appreciate you listening and coming up with a creative solution to not put forth the moratorium and sort of rework the process so the town is, held accountable for what's being put there, but also streamlining the process. So thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing good developments in the towns of Baldwin, Inwood, and North Lawrence. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking the time, and thank you for your thoughts with helping us get where we need to be. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, I have Felix Bercacci. Good morning again, Mr. Bercacci.
Felix Bercacci, Franklin Square. We are now in the portion of the meeting often referred to as public comment.
At the last meeting, I asked the board that the unwritten rule that residents cannot ask questions during this period be made official. Today, there was no resolution to modify the town meeting procedures, nor was this mentioned on the town's website. In addition, the presiding officer, which is the town supervisor, did not mention the existence of this rule at today's meeting. How are residents to know they are not allowed to ask questions? How are residents to know they are prohibited from asking questions if they just receive dumb looks and silence from the elected officials after they ask a question? If this board believes this rule is in the best interest of town residents, they should make it clear that all residents are prohibited from asking questions during public comment. Also at the last meeting, I brought up the fact that residents can apply for passports at their local post office, and some post offices even have Sunday hours, like the Lindbergh Post Office. Residents do not have to just rely on the town's passport services. As of yesterday morning, the town clerk's passport webpage still does not contain this useful information that would benefit residents. When you go to the town's website, Kate Murray writes, and I quote, "I am committed to providing residents with the highest quality services." Well, if this were true, Kate would provide residents with comprehensive passport information so residents could pick the location and time that is most convenient for them. 11 years ago, Kate Murray's biography on the town's website said that Kate commences each workday by asking herself the question, how can I improve the lives of the people I serve? Well, this wasn't true 11 years ago, and it isn't true today. I know this because 11 years ago, I asked Kate Murray to inform residents that post offices also provide passport services. Yet the taxpayer-funded passport mailings sent year after year with Kate Murray's picture on it and the town's website never mentioned this important fact. Part of providing a high-quality passport service includes providing both accurate and comprehensive information, which the Hempstead Town Clerk's Office, run by Kate Murray, intentionally does not provide. And one more thing, on the case I talked with regarding John Masella, in my case, the court did order that we do remediation, that we consult. But your outside counsel came to the remediation with no offer to settle the case. Never any offer, except someday I'll get the documents. So there's a conflict, there's a difference between one case and another.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ricacci. Always a pleasure. Have a great day. Next, I have Tom Watson. Good morning. If you name and address for the record, thank you.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Tom Watson. My address is 1904 Jones Avenue North in Wantagh. And I'm just here to speak a couple minutes on the Mount Sinai project in Wantagh. So there's a lot of residents, there's been a grassroots effort against this project. To date, I think there's about 700 people who have signed an online petition against this project. Most people are not against the medical center, but people in Wantagh, or many people in Wantagh, are just against this location. We don't feel the location is correct. I know there's a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting tomorrow that a lot of people will be attending. But I'm just hoping, I spoke at the county legislature yesterday, and I'm here today, and I just feel, there should be an effort by everybody in local government to really look at this closely, and hopefully you'll agree with a lot of residents that this is not the right site. I feel for such a large medical center, for example, the Sunrise Mall is going out of business. I think most people know that. So a medical center of this size, that type of location would be good. It's got a lot of parking, it's a good location, people can get there very easily. But this sort of congested area on Wantagh Avenue is just not, we just don't feel is the right site. So I just wanted to voice my concern about that. I also noticed that Laura Curran is now on the Mount Sinai board. So I'm hoping that local government officials can reach out to her. She knows Wandsworth very well, and I kind of feel she probably knows that this is not the right site also. So I would hope that somebody could reach out to her and ask her, to use her influence on the board, which she is now a member, to mix this project. I just feel where there's a will, there's a way, and I'm hoping, our local government officials can find a way to sort of mix this project. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. And Joe, when's I thought I saw something online about it.
I know it's upcoming, I can't give the specific.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow, 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, the BZA will be having a meeting on that, so please, attend that. Thank you very much for your thoughts.
I want to rest in there.
Yep.
Tom,
Thank you very much.
Tom, I've made everybody aware I cannot influence the BZA. That's why we can't say anything.
Right.
I've made the comment form available to everybody in the community, provided that to make sure that your position is known tomorrow to the BZA. That's the only body we can legally have. The town attorney can also comment on that as well, that the BZA was set up to not have influence from the elected officials.
I realize that.
Okay, so the only thing I could do is provide you, and as you can see on the social media and to all the groups that are contacting my office, I've given them the specifics of how to contact the BZA, how to make your point known. That's really all I can do, at this point. But please make your voice known tomorrow and bring as many residents as you can.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. Next I have up Donald Haiti, or Haiti. Good morning, give your name and address for the record, thank you.
Good morning, sir. Donald Hay, 2624 Harrison Avenue, Baldwin. Good morning. I'd like to thank the board for reassessing the decision regarding moratorium on the Baldwin Downtown Revitalization Initiative. However, this does not excuse the inertia that's plagued this program and the Baldwin Overlay Project for the better part of 4 years. During informal discussions with various officials, some of the reasons cited by those officials why nothing has yet been done and moved forward with the site studies we needed. And that argument was rebutted with the fact that the previous secret studies were supposed to cover that. The game of partisan politics began with the argument that that was the position of the previous administration. The fact of the matter is nothing has been done to improve the downtown area of Baldwin. To put it in perspective, in 4 years the state dismantled the Tappan Zee Bridge and built the Mario Cuomo Bridge right next to it, no small feat. We are certainly not looking at a project of that magnitude or engineering. The board has passed numerous resolutions to improve studies, yet not one tangible result has yet to appear on our streets. The residents of Baldwin fully understand the necessity of certain procedures, but the Baldwin Overlay Project that is intended to provide mixed-use occupancies at various sites is proposed on developed land. Virtually every square inch of land on this overlay has been previously developed. It is a redevelopment. The purpose of the overlay concept and the secret study was to streamline this redevelopment. Rather than help the situation, it appears that the board and many of our elected officials are acting as impediments. We live in Baldwin and have seen the erosion of the commercial zone over the past 2 decades. There are approximately 4 shovel-ready projects ready to go, but are being held up by unnecessary bureaucracy. Please understand this. We are not just a small vocal minority from Baldwin. Many of us are longtime residents who are active in our churches, fire department, schools, and civic organizations. We speak with our fellow Baldwin residents, and the issue of Baldwin's revitalization is at the forefront of these conversations. Most of the people cannot attend this meeting to speak because, like the majority of the people in Baldwin, they are at work trying to support their families. When this overlay project was first proposed, a community meeting was held at the high school at night after working hours, and the auditorium was packed. The people care. They have been patient, but they are fed up. You are our leaders, not our rulers. Communities such as Mineola, Freeport, and Patchogue have surpassed us in leaps and bounds as far as revitalization efforts are concerned. Although these communities are incorporated villages, the fact of the matter is that there was a point of will on the part of both the communities and their leaders. The people of Baldwin have the will, but to you as our elected officials. The lack of action on these projects has already cost developers money. We all know things don't get any cheaper with time. Are your children and grandchildren going to be able to afford to live in the area when they decide to move out?
All right, thanks, Dave. Jack, I think it's, maybe we give an introduction. This is Jack Lieberman, Chief of Staff.
Supervisor, honorable members, we have engaged an outside attorney, Mr. Lasquadro, and also Mr. Duffy, to look into this whole area and aspect, and if, with your permission, I'd like to ask him to talk about it more specifically.
Absolutely.
Mr. Supervisor, members of the board, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak and address this issue. The board did request that we examine in a detailed manner several of the special zoning districts that were high impact, high intensity, high density districts that have been established over the past few years within the town. And to take a very hard look, a detailed look and examination with respect to the impacts that those districts could have, and would they function in the best interests of the residents. From the perspective, of course, from the town's point of view, how would the residents best be protected given the functioning of those districts and how they're constituted right now. So that's what we did, and this is what we found. What we determined and what we saw with respect to the districts is that with these districts that are, again, high density, have the potential for very high impacts, there was a generic look that was done at impacts that would greatly affect residents and the community as a whole. Now, we know that all planning in the town, in fact, throughout the state, is governed by what we call the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, what a lot of us here would call, and what you refer to as SEQRA. SEQRA mandates requires a hard look. So what did we see with respect to the process? That with respect to impacts that would occur in the district, things that were only looked at generically, but not in any detail. Traffic, noise, pollution, impacts on schools and taxes, library districts, fire districts, police, other first responders, sewer, water usage. All of these things with respect to the codes that were put in place, although with the best of intentions, were not contemplated in a specific way. And specifically, the codes do not provide for project-specific impacts to be evaluated so that a hard look is taken at them as required by state law under SEQRA. So what has our mandate been? You've told us that given the fact that this exists and that the mandate of the town and the desire of the town is to have development move forward, but in the best interest of the residents, so that the development and growth and the transformative projects, as Mr. Strober mentioned, could take place. Would they take place then in a reasonable way, in a responsible way? And would a process be put in place then to allow that to happen? So our mandate has been, within approximately 45 days, to devise new codes with input that would then allow for all of these districts to have development move forward, but so that all of the impacts that we're talking about, fire, sewer, water, traffic, noise, other pollution, other impacts that can affect residents where they live and how they go to school and how they work, so that all of those things can be taken into account in a code that is enhanced, that's more transparent, that's more open, and that more importantly puts power and authority in the town board and not in another board that had been put into place, so that the residents' interests can be spoken to and answered for. And again, the mandate has been that this be done in a very time-sensitive way so that development won't be stymied, but so that community interests are protected in the process. So that is what we have endeavored to do, and we've worked on that, and we will continue to work on that. And we'll be happy, of course, to address this further as time permits. Thank you.
Good. Thanks. So just so everybody heard that was part of it. Very respectful of everyone's opinion and moving things forward. And that's why it was set, the town board respectful, that's why the moratorium was pushed aside. But we did say we want to make sure it's done correctly with the proper oversight, open, transparent manner. And he's been given a marching order of within 45 days. So that's why I asked him to speak, and we'll continue with some other speakers out of here. We have Pearl Jacobs. Morning again, Ms. Jacobs. Give your name and address. Thank you.
Pearl Jacobs, Unidale. Okay, please watch my clock. It's starting already. I didn't even start to speak. Last time I was here, I do believe the clock was not accurate. So last time I was here on April 5th, I came before this council and requested this council to put into action a local law, Unidale Clean Streets, that would require residents and businesses to keep in front of their homes and businesses litter-free, inclusive of curbs. Now, when I was here April 5th on the evening meeting, I proposed this and I was met with great opposition. So therefore, the next morning, I sent an email out to Councilwoman Goolsby's office and you as well, Supervisor Clavin. And given total disrespect, I did not receive one response from your office, not even one reply. Quality of life issue in Unidale and litter and debris is the number one problematic issue, quality of life issue in Unidale. And action is required to alleviate this unsightly and disgusting issue. Such a law would save taxpayer dollars by reducing the number of complaints and repetitive dispatches that the sanitation department currently responds to as a result of residents' complaints. Additionally, this law would generate a large amount of revenue as a result of non-compliance, which could be reinvested back into communities through beautification projects. This law would also be of a great benefit to our town of Hempstead sanitation department by changing from a reactive to a proactive mode of operation. Because right now they're in total reactive mode because of the problems we have in Unidale. On April 5th, I was met with great opposition, and as a result of this request, my question would be, why was I met with great opposition to this proposal? You can stop the clock so you can answer my question, please.
No, you've been coming for a long time. It's now the public comment section, so thank you.
Why is my clock going?
Exactly. This is your time.
Why can't you answer my question? Maybe it's okay for Uniondale and communities of color to be trashed, okay, and to leave the trash there and to be unsightly. Maybe that's okay. But it's not okay for the many hard-working residents that live there. My question is not going to be answered. And another question I have, the orange cones that permeate our communities because of the illegal housing. Who's responsible for that? The town of Hempstead Highway Department? Can you answer that question?
There's something in the roadway issue, either called the highway department or the police department.
And my other question, my drainage in front of my house, my sewer drainage is disintegrating. Who's responsible for that?
If you give your address to one of the assistants in the back, will you have a follow-up if it's sewage or a drainage issue?
You know, this is a dysfunctional council. I worked for corporate America for over 30 years, okay? If I did my job like this, I would have been fired within 6 months. Okay? I had goals, I had objectives, and I got results. You have 0 results, and it's a
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs, as always. Next, I have Neil Henry. Good morning, sir. Can you give your name and address for the record?
Sure. Neil Henry, 75 Baldwin Avenue in Baldwin. I'll be brief. Got a lot of folks here. Moved to Baldwin 1977. My family, friends, many of them have moved away and said, why are you still in Baldwin? I said, because I love Baldwin, and I'm comfortable in Baldwin, and I have roots in Baldwin. And maybe it's redundant, I don't know, but, and I listened to what everybody was saying, but what, maybe we can just, everybody have a mindset, please. Get with the program. Do it already. Do the Baldwin thing. And 45 days, okay, let's keep an eye on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Next I have John Defense. Morning, Mr. Defense, if you name and address for the record.
John Defense, Baldwin, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Defense. Mr. Clayton, the only thing I'm asking from you and the council is to give me an audience with the commissioner for the senior citizen enrichment program. To talk to you about my problem would be a waste because I cannot do it in 3 minutes. So would you give me that permission to?
I'll set you up with a meeting from somebody from the senior department.
That was the problem. The senior department is where my problem is. So I need the commissioner to overrule them if necessary.
Like I said, I'll set you up with somebody from the department to talk about your issue or problem at the facility, Mr. Defense.
Mr. Clayton, please forgive me. The best way I can explain this is the issue involving me is based on assumption, not fact. And to be convicted on assumptions, I don't think it's legal or known to exist. And that's why I'm here. If you give me anybody other than the commissioner, I'm going to be back to square one. It has to be her. Why? You gave me permission the last time to speak with her, and she resolved the issue because she was fair. And I would hope that I can speak with her again because she knows all the particulars. This has been going on for 2 years, but my pain started November 23rd of last year. Please forgive me.
Mr. Defense, have you ever met with our new deputy over there, Mike Caputo? This is Mike Caputo. Mike Caputo is one of our favorite people in town. He's a wonderful guy.
I know Parisi is gone.
I know, but have you ever met with Mike?
No.
Mike's awesome. He's a great guy. He's going to go in the back with you right now and talk about the situation. Michael, you promise me? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Defense. He's a wonderful guy. He's going to go to the back with you right now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I have Diane Madden. Ms. Madden? Rosalie Claus? Ms. Madden, we gave you a call there. You're up. No, Ms. Madden, you good? Yeah. Okay. Morning.
Morning. I'm sorry to see the board pass that contract after all. I'm going to ask the supervisor to reconsider removing the animal shelter out of general services. You're at a disadvantage. Maybe you don't know, but Tony Santino had removed the accountant that was employed at the shelter as a result of a New York State audit of the animal shelter. And the reason why Santino removed the accountant is because he was an outsider. And he was responsible for overseeing contracts, spending, purchasing. So it all got teed up for Mr. Marino to use the shelter and return to the days of making it basically an employment agency for contracts and jobs as he helped to bully out every expert. So again, I'd like you to remove the animal shelter from general services, get back on track, bring in an outside director, because not one single person named in Mr. Pistori's document that urge the board to shut down the kennels permanently, for good reason, because the animals at this point are evidence of such gross mismanagement and misspending. I'd like to ask the board, whether they choose to answer or not, is up to them, when the evening adoptions are going to be reinstated, when the on-site adoptions are going to be reinstated. I checked the sign-in list yesterday. I was actually mistaken. I think there were 7 people over a period of 2 days, the 24th, 25th, 26th, somewhere around there, 7 people visiting an animal shelter that should be like a revolving door. And I've yet to go there and see animals in the exercise pens. Yet Marino keeps helping to pass contracts to improve doors and pens and awnings. So once again, please remove the animal shelter from under general services. Let the animals free. In fact, they'd actually be better off and probably safer running in the streets free than being held and warehoused in that shelter where a director, a commissioner, assistant director, and so on wanted the shelter kennels closed completely from the public. And I do thank the board for not falling for that one.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Madden. We appreciate it as always.
One final comment.
We stick to the 3 minutes, Ms. Madden, you know that, but we do read the emails because I know you send them, you know I read them. Next, I'm bringing up Rosalie Claus. Ms. Claus? Okay. Next, I have Karen Montalbano. Oh, sorry. Oh, Mrs. Claus, how you doing? Oh, no, Mrs. Montalbano. Hi, Mrs. Claus. Oh, Ms. Claus, you have to go back to the back one. Listen, stop screaming. Miss Claus, would you like to, Jack? That sounds great, Jack. Okay, thank you, Jack.
Common sense prevails once in a while.
Okay, good morning, Miss Claus. It's nice to see you. Your name and address for the record?
Good morning. My name is Dorothy R. Claus, 682 Cottage Street, parcel number 512511. I have 3 issues. My parcel number that's been changed. The other issue is the enhanced star tax that was removed. The state restored it the 10th of last year. And the next thing is the Postal Service that held up my mail for over 2 months, saying that the house was inaccessible. We purchased my home in 1975. Been living there. My husband was a veteran and a police officer before he retired and died. Now, I would like to know since when the county or anyone can change parcel numbers that's on a deed without explanation to the homeowner. I went to the assessment office 2 times. I called the supervisor's office trying to get an appointment to see him. You would think that I was the enemy trying to get in a bank or something. They're so well protected by your secretaries that nobody could get to you all. I went to the senior person 2 times, spoke to her assistants, didn't get back a call, couldn't see anybody. This is my last stance. I am not going to let anyone take my property. If I have to go to the Supreme Court, I'll go there. I have all my papers, including my payoff notice for my home in 205.
Ms. Claus, obviously you hit on a couple issues that are federal and state and county, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to Matt Pagione, who's here. Matt, where are you? You better be here. He's coming. He's coming? He's got to move in his foot. Matt's going to give you help, Ms. Claus? Ms. Claus? Matt's he's in the back. He's going to go to the back with you, and what we're going to do is we're going to find out when the state removes your enhanced star, when they put it back. It all runs through. No, I know that, but unfortunately, I know, but a lot of it runs through New York State and the assessor. We'll see where it is and give you a helping hand. We'll find out about your deed. I can't help you with the post office, but Matt, maybe you can walk on up, and then Matt will work with Janine Driscoll about reaching out to somebody in the assessor's office.
Is the most important thing, so.
What was that?
My lot number.
Right, Matt's going to give you. We're going to get.
I went there to the assessment office to ask us to give it to me and write in the reason for your change. The homeowner should know.
Ms. Claus, I can't answer for the assessor's office, but we're going to try and give you a helping hand right now. Matt, he's going to take you to the back room and give you right, turn to your right.
Who are you?
That's Joe Naselli. You don't want to deal with him. You want to deal with this guy. Matt, you take her to the back? Yes. Okay, thank you very much, Matt. Now, Ms. Montalbano, how are you? Good morning, your name and address for the record.
Mary Montalbano, 2611 Park Avenue, Baldwin Civic Association Government Liaison, and past president. Obviously, you know I'm here to talk about the Baldwin Overlay Zone. You adjourned the moratorium today, but in reality, by not appointing the Design Review Board in the past 2.5 years since you passed the law, you have had a de facto moratorium, and your alternate proposal is just another delay. You claim there are problems with the secret, a process done by the reputable company VHB, which has worked with many communities across Long Island, including the towns of East Hampton, Southampton, Huntington, and the villages of Farmingdale and Greatneck, to name just a few. The town even has enough faith in VHB to recently hire them to administer the DRI Community Fund. Today is the first time I've heard about your outside counsel. You claim you need a hard secret. They say they need studies. We have had 7 studies in Baldwin, including the study for the complete streets and a downtown corridor study. Okay? You claim you need a hard secret. Well, you have it in the final GEIS, right there on page 21, which states, quote, any future action which contravenes any of the conditions or criteria set forth below will be subject to a full request of secret. And this was signed off by Rich Regina in your town attorney's office. Let's note that at the beginning of 2020, that the majority of you, Supervisor Clavin, Senior Councilwoman Boosby, Councilman Desposito, Muscarella, and Dunn, you all voted for the final secret and the law that created the Baldwin Overlay Zone. And it's only when people found out that in the past 2.5 years you failed to follow that law and did not appoint the required design review board that all of a sudden Senior Councilwoman Gooseby makes a resolution for a moratorium. The people of Baldwin worked with the town to create the overlay zone. We specifically had input and approved of the terms. Yet now you want to change what the people of Baldwin worked on and asked for. You are our elected officials here to represent us. And yet you have decided to get rid of the design review board, which the community and you previously approved. I don't know what you have against the design review board. The secret issue is just a non-issue. No more excuses. Baldwin needs our revitalization. Stop stalling. Do your job. Appoint the design review board.
Thank you, Ms. Montalbano. Next I'm going to ask Willie Zambrano. Good morning, sir. Give me an address for the record.
My name is Willie Zambrano. I live in 830 Van Buren Street, Baldwin, New York. Good morning, members of the board and Supervisor Clavin. I'm also the chair of the Economic Development Committee on the Baldwin Civic Association. But I'm also an architect and a fellow of the American Institute of Architects, the largest design organization in the world with 94,000 members. As an architect and local resident, we understand the economic impact of any project development brings to any community. And as a civic-minded citizen, it is important that we, along with the community, advocate for this type of transformative overlay zoning district to create vibrancy and economic growth in our community. This is why I joined the BCA, just to lend my knowledge so we can actually act on behalf of our community and make sure that our downtowns that are blighted with empty lots, derelict buildings, get some sort of transformative action at this moment. Over 2 decades, we've been waiting for development. I lived there for over 16 years, just to see time and time again delay on projects that are fully ready to go and no action. And now it's time. I do believe that it's time for us to act and get those projects that are ready to go, ready to be shoveled in the ground. The developers spend a great deal of energy and millions of dollars. As an architect, I witnessed this on a daily basis. Lengthening this process, it only discourages these developers to go elsewhere. The implementation of the Design Review Board was a very transformative, progressive, innovative decision by the town boards when it was implemented. And I, along with the Baldwin Civic Association and the Chamber of Commerce, worked hand in hand to make this happen on many, many meetings and reiterations of that zoning change. While we appreciate providing an alternative proposal, we demand to leave the Baldwin zoning overlay as is and get these projects moving. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zambrano. Next I have Steve Greenfield. Mr. Greenfield. Good afternoon, Mr. Greenfield. Your name and address for the record.
Stephen Greenfield, 2336 Harrison Avenue in Baldwin. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I've been a resident of Baldwin for 21 years. I've been involved in 3 downtown development attempts. I've met with the developers, Albanese and Engel Berman and others. I've met with landlords, and I've watched as the town board, the zoning board, granted variances twice to allow an auto storage lot at the corner of my street, Harrison Avenue and Sunrise Highway, and that the town officials have not enforced or penalized the owner for not maintaining its fences, paving its surfaces, and other violations. In your public statements, you have said that you want to maintain environmental standards, but have not demonstrated a willingness to deal with this unsightly mess in the middle of our downtown. My conclusion is that the town of Hempstead has failed the Baldwin community in our downtown redevelopment efforts. Finally, the state of New York came to our rescue with a $10 million grant and a process to achieve success, but nothing has been done in the last 2 years. In addition to not forming the design committee, where is the facade improvement program? Where is the public relations project that was included in the plans? And there are other elements of the grant. The DRI process is not unique to Hempstead. It has been successfully used in other communities to facilitate development. The state-required environmental review was done for the district by a reputable organization, as others have mentioned. The Design Review Committee is a tried and true process. If the town board wants input, appoint a town board member to be one of the 3 members of the DRC. but don't discard our best opportunity to expedite development. If you insist on each project completing a separate SECRA, an environmental review, you will completely undermine the DRI strategy for facilitating rapid improvement and development. And there are two local organizations that have been committed to and have educated themselves about the development process over years. They are the Baldwin Civic Association and the Baldwin Chamber of Commerce. I urge you to work with these partners to move this community forward. And if you want to do this 45-day review, I recommend three things. Set timeframes that allow developers to move forward expeditiously. And number two, you still need an approval process, one that expedites the process.
Thank you, Mr. Greenfield, and I would say you could follow up with the email with those ideas, and we do appreciate your input on it. So, next I have Alyssa Kyle. Good afternoon, if you give your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Alyssa Kyle, 24 Woodbine Avenue, Northport, New York. I'm the placemaking director for Vision Long Island. We worked with VHB on the Baldwin Overlay Zone and GEIS for the town, as well as previous studies in Baldwin done by Nassau County, including the TOD infill study, the resiliency plan, and the Grand Avenue traffic calming and pedestrian safety plan. The Baldwin Overlay Zone was a result of extensive study. This was not just pushed through. GISs have been done in conjunction with other downtown revitalization rezonings around the island, including Westbury, Farmingdale, Mineola, Riverhead, and Port Jefferson. They've all been done successfully. The SECRA has already studied the cumulative traffic impacts of potential development on the 9 largest, most developable lots in the area in conjunction with the proposed Grand Avenue traffic calming pedestrian improvements. If proposed developments are within the densities permitted within the zone, which is not exceptionally high density as was mentioned earlier, their traffic impacts have already been studied. If a developer wants to do additional density, the GIS already spells out that that could warrant additional study, but developers that are staying within the prescribed zoning shouldn't be made to do redundant work. If the town wants to do a supplementary review for an especially large-scale project, that's within the discretion. There's already been a de facto 2-year moratorium due to the lack of a design review committee to review proposals that have already been submitted. Some body of people needs to be designated ASAP to begin the process of reviewing these proposals that can be accountable for moving projects forward and not allowing them to stagnate. And on this body, there needs to be at least some members of the body of people that are trained in either architecture, planning, development, or some related field to ensure that the projects being approved fulfill the wishes of the community that have been translated into both the overlay zoning code and to the accompanying design guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, how about Ms. Merriman? Good afternoon. Name and address, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's me, J. Merriday. Karen Montalbano kind of put it out there what needs to get done. It needs to get done, it needs to get done now. Baldwin does not need to have any other reviews, assessments, discussions, meetings, backdoor deals. We need to get it developed, we need to get it done now. My question, which won't be answered, but I want it's on the record somewhere. What is this outside counsel getting paid, and why isn't their contract on this administrative calendar that was just voted today? Just curious. I don't believe, and someone can speak me if I'm wrong, if anybody from Baldwin knew that there was an outside counsel that was a part of this process.
No.
And got any input from them. Okay. I already know that answer, but again, this speaks to, again, the ongoing situation in this town. And it couldn't have been said any more plain in Newsday, and we're finally getting Newsday covered. When we sat here 2 weeks ago, wasn't it, Karen? We were just here 2 weeks ago, addressing the issue about the moratorium, and, you know, Councilperson Gooseby made it clear that she had nothing to do with what happened in the previous administration. You know, nobody told her anything, and she was kept out of the loop, but she sure voted for it. And now no one, the three that have their hands touching on Baldwin, had anything to say against that moratorium. Now all of a sudden it's, we need to do something different. You got an outside counsel again without input from Baldwin residents who come here and sat here and waited for this to get done. And you're telling me that the state does not need to come here? But you want to take the money? Ironically, you're putting a moratorium, which means you're hampering funding that's been allocated for certain projects around the same time that the state had an audit about some, sketchy financing in the town of Hempstead. Seems interesting to me. It's almost the same amount of money that's been allocated for these villages and hamlets equates to the same amount of money that has the sketchy financing. It seems to me that there's something interesting going on with the details of funding. But again, you need to do it now. You need to do it quick. You need to do it inclusively of the residents of Baldwin. Lastly, before my time is coming up, Councilperson Caridi made a point about his office contacting me. You're absolutely right. I did get a response from your office. But I bet to get a response from you. You're the elected official. I reached out to the council person, okay, and I expect to get a response, something, letter, cricket, anything. I will commend the buildings department because they do get information to us about the projects and the unsightly projects and developments that we do have in some of the homes. But right now, I'm before the elected officials. Do your job, do it now. Because guess what? Say when you got voted in, these days you can easily get voted out.
Thank you, Ms. Meredith. Next I have
Stu Kroll. We have a Don Clavin.
Stu Kroll, Great Neck. The positive news is that our TNR program is operating at or near full capacity. However, there are many problems with the way the shelter is operating. Why is it that only the Hempstead shelter requires an appointment to adopt a cat or a dog? Apparently you can walk around the shelter, but if you're interested in adopting an animal, it can't be done on the spot. This policy would seem to highly discourage potential adopters. As a basis of comparison, if you find an animal that you want to adopt in North Shore Animal League, you can leave with that animal in your possession. At All About Cats in Freeport, you can also adopt on the spot. What possible rationale could there be for such a foolhardy policy? Many rescue groups have little or no dealings with the town shelter. A lack of communication and a total lack of cooperation seem to be the main reasons why rescue groups want to do their business elsewhere. The employees need to remember that taxpayers own the shelter and pay their salaries. This is not to say there aren't numerous dedicated employees. However, the prevailing sentiment seems to be a lack of responsiveness to the public, along with a misplaced sense of self-importance. I hope I'm not disturbing anybody up there. We have a shelter with a $5.5 million budget with over $4 million being allocated to salaries. We should have a robust socialization program leading to numerous cat and dog adoptions. Unfortunately, this does not seem to be the case. The cattery is often empty with ringworm that never seems to go away. Most of the cats are caged. This is no way to socialize the unfortunate cats. No doubt some of the potentially adoptable cats end up being shipped off to Good Shepherd Sanctuary in Maryland. The dogs are rarely, if ever, taken outside to avail themselves of the exercise pens. How then are they to be socialized, leading to adoption? The more likely result is they are continually caged, leading to them being withdrawn and aggressive. It seems rather apparent that the current shelter leadership of Pastore and Fonte want the least amount of animals possible residing at the town shelter. The lack of animals makes their job easier, and the money saved apparently goes back to the general fund. Let us not forget that our behaviorist trainer Fonte lied about having most of her required credentials, which apparently she later received. Pastore, upon visiting our dogs up in Utica, personally approved the situation, the facility. In reality, the situation was so bad the Utica mayor was drawn to tears. We are then left to wonder why 6 people are in charge of our shelter. Local government seems to be dominated by patronage jobs and employees doing the bidding of those in charge. As we have recently seen in the news, such behavior is coming under increased scrutiny. Violations of the public trust need to be punished by lengthy periods of incarceration and loss of government pensions. Incidentally, is there any update on Mr. Urey, a town employee arrested for numerous counts of torturing dogs through the largest dog fighting ring in Suffolk County history? He should be suspended immediately and fired summarily upon conviction. There's no place in town government for such a heinous individual.
Thanks, Mr. Joe, for the first home. Next, I have Darren Ward. Good afternoon, if you give your name and address for the record.
So, good afternoon. Gary Wood, Lancaster Avenue, Baldwin, New York. Good morning, good afternoon to the town board and other guests and Baldwin stakeholders. I am the president of the Baldwin Civic Association. I learned some interesting news today, which is a surprise to me, but a positive. I'd like to start by saying many in this room are a part of a coalition to enhance Baldwin's appeal as a desirable hamlet to live and do business. The Baldwin Overlay Zone passed by the town board is an example of ground-up activism by our neighbors, stakeholders, partnering with government to create the sustainable and present and future Baldwin. The BCA welcomes the adjournment of the meeting to discuss the temporary moratorium. What we would welcome more is the return to the partnership that fostered the development of the Baldwin Overlay Zone to begin with. The BCA and the BCA E-Board request the town board follow the law and the administrative provisions as voted. We would like to dispel the notion that the town board in the approval process defers to the three-member DRB, the Design Review Board. To be clear, the Design Review Board is the first step in the review process, and the town board has its authority to agree or disagree as codified in the law. There is no takeover of the approval process by three professionals in the building department. The continued interpretation by the town attorney is misleading. We do not want to return to the old way of doing business with the building department. The overlay zone is to give all participants clarity of expectations, rules of the road, and if not met, then the town board has authority to require further study and review to gain town approval. We request the appointment of the three-person design review board immediately. If not immediately, within the next 30 days, with qualified professionals from the town's own building department, to provide the town board their recommendations in compliance with the environmental study toward project approval. During the appointment process, both the Baldwin Civic Association and the Baldwin Chamber of Commerce are consulted, and further, each organization is consulted with the recommendations of the DRB and the town of Hempstead decisions in accordance to the law. Further, to ensure the Baldwin's future is considered, we urge, after appointment of the Design Review Board, the town board meet with the BCA and the BCC to discuss the administration of the DRB and discuss the new bigger role the town board has determined for itself in a public partnership manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Next, I have George Wagner.
Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon, sir. Just your name and address for the record, please.
My name is George Wagner, live at 165 Newport Road in Uniondale. I am here because I experienced something on Sunday morning that was very troubling. I went to have an early shave at around 6:30, and I put on the hot water, the cold water. The cold water Sunday was brown, dark brown. And eventually, I decided to turn on all the other taps in my apartment, in my building. And this continued for about 40 minutes. It was so troubling to me that I called Ms. Jacobs, the president of the Non-Spring Garden Association, and also Troy Harris, Commissioner of Police, who advised me to call Ms. Gladwin's office, which I did yesterday morning. And the person I spoke to was mostly trying to satisfy me and to get rid of me by telling me a lot of, they normally just flush the water normally once a year and all this type of stuff. I live in Brooklyn for a long time and I've never seen that nor experienced that. Actually, the first time I experienced that in Uniondale yesterday, Sunday morning. It's troubling.
Okay, sir.
I'm saying, now, my wife died of cancer in August last year, the 19th.
Very
I
sorry to
also
hear
have cancer. I live on a dead-end street. And I was made to understand that that particular location in all the blocks of Dennis Street have most of this stuff. But the person I spoke with, the bishop, works with Mr. Glavin at one of his locations. And he was, as I said, trying to satisfy me by telling me about the flushing of the water. I eventually told him I worked with Con Edison for 40 years. And we do boiler treatment, water treatment, and all this type of stuff to clarify stuff in the boilers. And I think that this type of stuff it should be addressed at this location, which is Hempstead.
So sir, if it's easier, this way you could explain it and he'll know it best. I know Commissioner Reinhardt is here from the Water Department. If you want to give him the location, the address, and explain the issue in depth, I'm sure he could get someone out probably today to look at it.
Look at it. I think this is a serious thing. This might not only be my location. This might be the whole of Hempstead, Unionville areas having the same problem.
Okay.
So the commissioner is going to come over here right now. He's going to get the address. And Jay, you're on this? Thank you very much. Next I have Marcia DiGieri. Good afternoon, name and address for the record.
Marcia DiGieri, Merritt, New York. Firstly, I'd like to ask whether the cat room at the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter is going to be open soon. There's been no cats there for months. I know because of the ringworm, and now they said they were renovating it.
The commissioner will speak to you after about that. You can
I'd like to know also if the tree planting program is still in effect.
Yeah, the tree planting program's in effect.
Is it low cost, no cost?
There's a cost, but it's low.
And for seniors, is it free? It used to be.
The Commissioner of Engineering, he'll be happy to follow up with that. Thank you, Commissioner.
I am here once again begging for some hope that the town is proposing something to protect our natural resource, our life source, and is literally keeping us alive, namely mature trees. To date, I have seen countless historical homes on tiny town in Merritt, and the 100-year-old trees with them. I am requesting once again that the town put tree preservation law, as other townships have done, into law. Lastly, I don't know if you saw the woman on Channel 12 News in Westbury that chained herself to an 80-year-old healthy tree so the town of Westbury couldn't cut it down. Is that what this has come to? Do I have to chain myself to a tree to stop developers from removing them? Or is there going to be a law put into place? I beg of you. Has there been anything yet, as other townships have done?
Like I said to you, we have a couple of people working on this, did you?
Okay, it's been 3 years. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next I have Belinda Myers. Good afternoon, if you can name and address the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Belinda Myers. I represent Lakeview. I'm here for the Lakeview Council. Actually, there's 4 items I'd like to speak about. One, the Whitfield Road in front of Harold Walker Park. The manholes have popped up again. People are driving like they're in a diversion course, and it's starting to get kind of dangerous because they're going into oncoming traffic because of...
Woodfield?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a county road, so I'll be happy to reach out to your county legislator.
Also, second item, Harold Memorial Park has said that they will upgrade the kiddie, the playground, but we actually need the basketball courts fixed. They have tournaments there during the summer. They do a lot of things at that park, and they never seem to upgrade the basketball courts. We're talking double-digit years. Okay. The third item. Oh, sorry.
Hi. The playground reconstruction should be starting within a week, and there are plans in the very near future to resurface that basketball court. I know it's been an ongoing problem. We replaced the backboards. We're going to be upgrading a lot of benches and stuff in the park, but the resurfacing of the basketball court, relining, is coming up in the near future.
Okay, thank you. The other two items, which are my items, I'm a person in the community that really deals with a lot of quality of life issues. I work with the code enforcers, I work with the POP officers, and we all get along. But there are two properties in Lakeview for the last 3 or 4 years that we have complained about. One is a rental property that has 6 abandoned cars on it. So when I checked on the property to see what was happening, they said that it was in litigation. This was prior to the pandemic. Since then, nothing has happened. The landlord has not done anything. It is really ridiculous. And then the second item is a residential house that has a vacant lot next to the house, and the owner uses the lot literally as a, if you drive past it, it looks like a junkyard. And you know, we have cited this individual every year for probably the last 5 years. And so the code enforcement goes, they talk to him, he gets cited, you know, he may clean up a little bit, but not enough to where it really matters. And so we never get answers. So what happens when you send a code enforcement to litigation? Why, the community seems to never know what happens after that. How do we ramp up code enforcement to get these people to clean their properties? How do you do that? I understand the process, how you're going to have to get cited and so on and so forth. But once it gets to the point of 3 or 4 years and nothing happens, what do we do as a community? We live behind Hempstead Lake State Park, and as you know, Hempstead Lake State Park, the state has put a lot of money in that park recently. It's an environmental center now for, you know...
for somebody else, not for you.
Yeah. So,
okay. Let me tell you what's going on. First of all, I know exactly what you're speaking of. I have gone into, I've been over there quite a few times. There are some homes and so forth, that all of that has been reported, and they are now...
Well, I would like somebody to take me in the back and so I can give them the address of those homes.
I know where they are.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
You want me to say who it is on record? Because I'm not sure if you do.
Listen, we have the Deputy Commissioner and John Lipinski right now. They're going to walk to the back and get the addresses from you right now.
Thank you.
All righty? No problem at all. Next I have Deborah Millett. Good afternoon. Name and address, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Deborah Millett, Nassau County Legislator for the 5th District, representing most of Baldwin. I live in Freeport on South Long Beach Avenue. My message is really pretty, good afternoon, everyone. My message is really pretty simple. Everyone who has spoken prior to me has been very eloquent and have tremendous knowledge about what's been going on in Baldwin. When I was elected to be legislator 4 years ago, over 4 years ago, I made it my mission to advocate for the Baldwin community. I live in Freeport, and I have a mayor and a village board to advocate for me. Baldwin doesn't have that, so I made it my mission to do that. And I'm here today to do that. To speak to you as one fellow elected official to all of you. Please, please heed the calls of the residents of Baldwin. They have been waiting over 30 years for something to happen. It's so simple. Just allow the overlay district process to go forward that you all voted for, most of you. Not all of you were there, but that you voted for. There's a process in place. Allow it to go forward. The SECRA was done. There's nothing wrong with the SECRA, and I understand that you have issues with it. Address those issues, whatever they are. Get this going. The people of Baldwin really, really need to have this done. And this is not something because I wanted it or some other official wanted it. This has been a from the ground up, grassroots, cry out, please develop our downtown. Usually with development projects, you have a lot of NIMBYism. People are complaining don't develop here. That's not the case here. You have the residents who are begging you to have this done. And so again, my message is very simple. Please allow this to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Okay, there did not sign in, it has not been heard, wish we heard. If not, have a wonderful day and thank you all very much for coming.